Hi everyone, it's Lorraine, and I'm feeling a prompting to do a conversation about the ups and downs of healing. There's a lot that I can talk about on this particular subject, and with some of the experiences that I've been having with people lately, I wanted to just share some of what's been coming up because it might be something that you're experiencing that you can relate to, and I just felt guided to share some of the experiences that are happening now that you may or may not be connecting to. So, we're going through, and you may know this, we're going through an incredible period of planetary influences. There's so many global shifts, there's so much happening with the climates. Our bodies are being recalibrated, and we're doing a lot of releasing of old energy. There's a lot of information that people are posting about what's happening during this time. Quite honestly, I think this is pretty ongoing. It's been that we've been in so many energetic shifts for a number of years, and certainly there are some portals that have greater intensity when just the way that things line up. That's not my area of expertise, but I do know that the more conscious that we become, the more sensitive we can be in reaction to some of these energies. And we don't always put two and two together. So, so essentially, there's a lot going on. And I see some of you are coming on to join with me today, and I'm just saying hello to all of you. And thank you so much for taking the time to join me. So, while all this is happening with us and to us, it can be kind of like a blind spot of not really connecting the dots. That's something that I really love, the ability to see the relationship between things. And I know that that's not something that's very normal for people. So we as energy beings are going through a lot right now. It can feel almost as if maybe feeling tossed around or feeling off kilter, or things might be going very peacefully for you, or you might be having a lot of symptoms that are being exacerbated right now. And so how do we begin to navigate some of these periods, because we're also being impacted by what's happening collectively? So it can be a time that's confusing, scary, emotionally and physically painful, a lot going on. So I wanted to just share some of the experiences that I've had with a few clients that might be pertinent for you. So a couple of weeks ago, I've been working with this wonderful woman for a period of time, and I got an email from her. It was about 24 hours after we had our regular weekly session, and I could tell that she was in a lot of trouble. That was my sense. She had indicated to me that she just couldn't stop crying, and that she felt emotionally out of control. And I know that for this person, that's something that feels very scary, because when you're a go-to person that people rely on to hold things together and be the strong one, and you go through life pretty much compartmentalizing and packing things down so that you're not really feeling things, when you're working to open up your heart, there are periods when things will bust open. And it can be very frightening and very confusing for somebody when that happens, because it can feel unsafe, it can feel threatening, it can feel dangerous, it can be very overwhelming, because if you don't know what to do with the intensity of thoughts and emotions, or possibly physical symptoms that are coming up, it can be a lot to handle. And so I was so grateful that she reached out to me, because she was feeling so unstable. And, no coincidence, I happened to have the afternoon free. And so we got on a call, and I was able to normalize a lot of what she was experiencing, because, see, I got excited for all that was happening for her while she was not feeling so happy and feeling so overwhelmed, because it was what we've been working towards, was breaking down some of that armor so that a lot of what was impacting on her health and on her life as a whole was starting to break down so that she could begin to do some of the releasing and some of the healing work that she hadn't been able to get to before. So one of the things that can be so helpful about conversations when you don't have a frame of reference is hearing that you're on track. This is normal. And then suggestions on how to begin to work through that. And what people typically will try to do when they're experiencing things that they don't want to feel, or they have judged to be a negative, or don't feel confident or strong enough to handle, first impulse can be, how do I get rid of this and how do I shut it down as fast as possible? And, we all find our way in our own time. What I do know is our ability to push things down the way that we used to, it ain't working anymore. And it's not going to work because we, inside of ourselves, I truly believe, are craving to be free and clear of these old, painful energies, because this is not the life that we came in to live, but we've had human experiences, and so we need to be able to feel whatever it is we need to feel, take the experience, the growth and the healing, the evolution from it, and to be able to release it. This is what I feel is happening with so many people. But if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to navigate that terrain, it can be a very scary experience. So I was able to help her to move through that. And at the end of the conversation, while she wasn't out of pain, what I was able to support her in normalizing was I encouraged her to fall apart, not to pull it together, to fall apart, because that's what she needed to do. And so I held that space for her to fall apart as she could. And you could see this incredible shift in her at the end. Was she out of pain completely? No. She's still processing and integrating. What she was able to do was to begin to learn how to show up for herself, so that as she continues to let go of some of these patterns, then she knows how to support herself. But right now, she needs some help. And so it was a beautiful experience. I could feel my soul smiling at being able to know how to be of help to her. Because if you are a person who is working with others in a healing capacity, if you haven't walked these terrains, then in my opinion, you cannot really be a guide for others. You've got to do your work in order to help others. And if you're guiding people into some of these shadow places, you have to be prepared to show up for them when and if they need your help. So another experience that happened was last week, with the full moon energies and the different types of rituals and transmissions and the spring equinox. One of the women who had joined me in the full moon transmissions that I do every month, that are just a blast and a wow. If you have not joined me for these transmissions, I really encourage you to do that. So this is somebody who I feel is familiar. I don't know how familiar, because I don't know her personally, with some of the experiences that can come up as a result of doing some specific working with a treatment or some healing modality or energy work. I always say to people, it's not unusual after a healing session that there are symptoms that come up. If you've gone to a doctor and gone for a treatment, you'll often hear them say, sometimes symptoms get worse before they get better. But our human self, not unusual when symptoms come up that seem to be after an experience, is to automatically go into a state of panic or imagining that something is terrible. A little thing comes up, oh my God, I have a tumor. I've done that myself. And it's just part of some of the human reaction when we don't understand things when we want to be responsible with addressing what's happening with our bodies, and also when some of that overreaction can come up. So that's why one of the things that I work so closely with clients is getting to know how to communicate and develop a relationship with your body so that you can begin to decode some of what your body is trying to tell you through symptoms. I always look at the spiritual meanings of what certain symptoms may represent. Louise Hay, years ago, made that relationship between the mind-body connection of looking at different ailments as to what might be going on beneath the surface, rather than just looking at something as a physical symptoms. That's still something I see people doing automatically. If they have a symptoms that they don't understand, if it seems to come out of nowhere, the first reaction is an uh-oh, something must be wrong. Maybe I need to go and see the doctor. Truth, maybe you do. Or maybe it's you've done a process and something is clearing and it's bringing up something that's been held in your body that is coming up as a symptom, and it's in the process of releasing. So I get this message from a woman, very sweet woman, and she said that she's experiencing some hip and gallbladder pain, something that is not that's unusual for her. And so some of what I'm sharing with you is what I shared with her. I encouraged her to look at what's going on in her life right now, to look at what those parts of her body represent. I encouraged her, if she felt that she needed to get some medical support, go do that. It's not a right or wrong, but I have come to understand in my own experience is that sometimes I need to give something just a little bit of time before I jump to a conclusion. That's my journey. I also have come to know myself quite well to know when I'm full of crap, when I don't want to do something, when I'm in resistance. And also sometimes I will follow through even if I feel everything is okay, because my human self just is feeling some worry and I need a little bit of peace of mind, even if it's a confirmation. So it's not a right or wrong way to do this. So life circumstances certainly create symptoms. If you're in a situation where you're experiencing a lot of stress, and for example, you start having stomach problems, do you think there might be a connection between the two? And many times when people are working with treatments and not getting better, it can also be an invitation, many times, to look at what else is going on in your life. What might you be holding on to, like unforgiveness or anger or guilt, that is contributing to symptoms that you're experiencing in your body without making that connection? So 24 hours later, after I sent this email back to this woman, sharing with her, again, many of the things that I'm sharing with you today, she says, I feel great today. So whatever it is that she needed to process, and she also said, I knew that if I felt I needed to go and see the doctor, that I would do that. But she gave herself that 24 hours. It felt right for her to do that. And 24 hours later, she was in a totally different place, so she moved through something. That's my interpretation. And then one other example that I wanted to just give to you was one of the women in my group. You're all such great communicators because you give me all this information that I can respond to, and I really appreciate that. So she had also experienced the full moon transmission. She does every month, or pretty much every month. And within 24 hours, she had been feeling some muscular pain, and she wasn't feeling that great. And then I guess it was about 24 hours after that, she started talking about feeling all of this anger that was coming up, and how she wasn't used to feeling anger. And so I gave her some feedback, and then I was remembering We are so brilliant that I felt that what was happening for her, that was catalyzed by the full moon transmission and everything else that's processing. When there's a lot going on, it's not always easy to distinguish what all might be triggering something. But when we are getting triggered by things, I always encourage people to look at it from multiple perspectives. As I'm saying, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, all different things can be triggered at the same time. And we experience that without not always understanding everything that's interplaying. So I said to her, it sounds to me like you are getting in touch with some feelings you've never allowed yourself to feel. This anger that you've been pushing down and allowing other feelings to come out, but you've not given voice, you've not created space to allow yourself to have this anger. And I was reminded of that because that happened to a friend of mine who started getting in touch with her anger. And sometimes when that happens, it can scare the crap out of us because anger can feel very intense. It can feel destructive. It doesn't always feel in control. There are very constructive ways of working with the energy, but it can be frightening to recognize that we are holding that kind of forceful energy inside of our bodies. And imagine what it's creating within yourself, within your body, within your energy. Whatever that we're holding on to is impacting and doing all sorts of things inside. And then when it builds up to such an extent, it becomes this explosion outside. It can be in destructive forms. It can be in health. It can be in self-sabotage, so many different ways. So I encourage people to really get to know your body signals. Trust your intuition. Create space to have some stillness. Rest. Drink water. Check and make sure what you're putting in your body because, there's a lot of toxins and that in itself can create a lot of exacerbation. Get professional support. We can be so close to things that we can't create distance to be able to help ourselves walk through some experiences. And if you don't know how to work with your emotions, if that's what's coming up and it's related to a physical ailment, what are you going to do if you don't know how to work with it? So getting help from somebody who knows that terrain is one of the most loving things that you can do so that you can get that support at the time that can help to relieve, build some confidence, offer you some tools, and ultimately begin to help you develop your own competency and capacity to support yourself during those times. My throat's getting a little dry. Also, be willing to walk through your stuff and not around it. It's not about getting rid of things. There are things in the nooks and crannies. There are things in the shadows. There's a lot of information that's being put out, I think is wonderful, about encouraging and creating all the support and all this light that's coming in. But you know what? We're not all sitting on and singing Kumbaya. There's a lot of crap that still needs to be cleared. We're still working with shadows and things that are in some of those places deep within ourselves. This is the journey. And it can be as difficult and as painful and as miserable, as hard as we make it because of how we struggle. You get better at it. And what are some of the ups? Freedom, peace, calm, love, joy, the kind of ease that we're all, I think, really wanting. So there are times when it's going to feel like a roller coaster, and the more that you are willing to stay in inquiry, to pay attention to your assumptions, to be willing to go the distance, and also give yourself permission. If you've dealt with or handling as much intensity, it's okay to create a distraction. It's okay to do something else that takes some of the pressure off. You have to find your way that's going to work for you in a way that allows you to keep growing and healing and becoming more aligned with who you are and who you want to be. If that's the journey that you want to be on, these are some of the things I believe will be of help to you. These are incredible times of freedom for all of us. And so I welcome your thoughts and comments on anything that I've shared. This was really bubbling up for me today, and I just felt that I needed to share it. I can tell you that I'm coming off of a very intense period of detoxing. It really kind of caught me off guard. I was doing some very intense work with photon light therapy, and I checked in with my body every day to ensure that it was what it wanted. I was talking with my team, and I said to them, if I'm in some denial or trying to push and move things faster than it's ready to go, please help me to recognize that. So my intention for myself is to be responsible in the choices that I'm making, because I know that there are times to move, there are times for rest, sometimes it's not convenient. We're learning how to live so differently right now, and part of the way that we're doing that is by being messy, by experimenting, by exploring, by letting go of doing it perfectly. And again, get support for doing this. We are so much stronger when we are supported in the way that we need. And you're the only one who knows when you need some support. And one of the most loving things that you can do is to give yourself permission to go and get it. We are not helping ourselves when we think that we have to do it all by ourselves. And if asking for help is difficult, I say this to you with love, get over it. Because we can't always do it by ourselves. And that is a source of strength. That is a source of love. And I know that I have learned so much by the people who I have been blessed to help, because they have also helped me. And every step that you take is a step that I benefit from, and the things that we can do to support each other together are the things that will help to heal the world. So I send you so much love. Let me know what landed with you, and if I can be of help to you, you know where I am. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I look forward to being with you again real soon. Take care.